Hello and welcome, pedal aficionados. My name is Henning Pauli and you're watching HP42. Worth mentioning, today we're looking at the Carl Martin pedal, and Carl Martin is very dear to my heart because my close friend Søren Jungberg from Carl Martin, who sadly passed away a few years ago, was one of the first to ever give me some higher end boutique pedals for the channel, and he believed in what I was doing when I had 3,500 subscribers. So Carl Martin has been with me a long time. Now that it's in new hands and in good hands in Denmark, I am still closely related to the brand. They have had the compressor for a long time. They've been working with Andy Timmons on the compressor. And now there's a version of the compressor here. It's a dual compressor. Now, let's see, put it on the screen. And I will do what I always do in my videos for compressors. I will explain to you what compression is. Some of you might not know, some of you have never seen one of my compression videos, so I have to repeat it every single time. If you've already heard it, please skip ahead. Well, the Carl Martin compressor looks pretty damn boring, but it looks like a Carl Martin compressor. It's all black, it's got the purple swooshy thing. They've been around since, I don't know, the 80s or the 90s, when pedals didn't have to look snazzy and have graphics on them. If it's good, it doesn't need it. So, in compression, how do I best describe this? So, you're making a guitar sound. I'm going to make a plonk here. Let's do this plonk. On a guitar that's almost close, kind of sine wavy. It's a very, when it's not distorted, very natural, pure sound. So you have a big wave here, like a big attack, and that goes pew and goes quiet. It goes quiet relatively quickly, especially clean, because drive, distortion, overdrive, compresses. So when you're looking at the recording of an overdriven waveform, it looks like this. Big, and then it actually kind of stays big, right? But clean sounds, they're very spike, because the attack is very strong, but then the rest of the signal quickly dies down. With a better guitar, not so quickly, that's called sustain, if the tone stays louder longer. Now we can get that sustain in an artificial way, in an enhanced way with a compressor, but also other things. So what you can do is, you want everything louder. So you could just get a volume or a boost. So we're cranking that volume up, but what happens is, how do I do it? Here, all this quiet stuff gets loud, but also this big peak at the front gets a lot louder. And that's where it will distort, it will kill your amp, it will kill your ears. So what you want to do is make sure this peak over here gets reduced in volume, right? And then you can take this whole thing, including its tail, and make it louder to where it's kind of where the peak was, but that means all the stuff over here also got louder. The way you do this is you're saying anything over a certain level will be squished down a bit. That level is called the threshold. So this peak over here, we're saying everything above this, everything about right here, so this bit will get quieter. And that's decided by the ratio. So a 4:1 ratio means for every 4 dB that it gets louder above the threshold, so anything above this, every 4 dB actually gets output only 1 dB. And 8:1 would be every 8 dB louder will be only 1 dB. So you still have dynamics. You're still playing dynamically, but less so above the threshold. So for every 4 dB you're playing louder, it's only giving you 1 dB. So you're limiting the dynamic range a bit. You're not killing it, right? A limiter will kill it. Everything above the threshold on a limiter gets put onto the level of the threshold. You cannot go louder than the threshold. So we're taming that attack right here. And that means all that stuff over here, we can make louder now. So everything gets louder, but when we're attacking, it doesn't kill the amp or your ears or whatever. So that's what a compressor does. So you have threshold, which is at what level does it actually start working, right? You have ratio, how much is it doing its job above the threshold for the 1A to 1, whatever. So we got a threshold here. The lower it is, pretty much what I showed you right here, the lower it is, the more it's doing its thing. So further to the left here is more compression. This is your ratio, right? And then we're saying we're taking this whole thing up in level again. How much is determined by this. Now, there is also a dry. So what we can do is we can keep our original attack and the original feel of the dry signal, but we have the benefit of mixing in the compressor to get that beautiful sustain and all the quiet stuff gets louder. Careful with the compressor, and people have said this on my compressor videos, why there's so much noise? When you're raising the quiet stuff, what are you also raising? You're raising the noise. The noise comes up with a compressor. There's no way around that. What we got here is a dual compressor. So you can see threshold and wet dry. So all the way to the right would be dry. So in the middle, you got a 50-50 mix. Tough to see. They should have bought the ones with a little white line on them. Cheapos. You know, probably set and forget. Okay, but you have comp and level twice. So you can have a setting here and then another setting. My question is, wouldn't it have been better to have 2 thresholds and 2 wet dries? This makes it a flexible dual compressor. So it's not 2 compressors behind each other. It's always one compressor, but with 2 different ratio and makeup gain level settings. I would have liked 2 little thresholds and 2 little wet dries, because that would have made it 2 real compressors. So in this case, they're sharing the threshold and dry. It's semi-flexible. And that's one of the gripes I have with it. The other one is, who decided this? We got a bypass. And this is Carl Martin. This is good old big ass LEDs. Nothing fancy. Big ass, stick out of the pedal a bit LEDs. That's fine. But then the 2 different compressors are both blue. Which means when you're 3 meters away looking at your pedal board, you have no fucking idea if it's the left or the right one. Why not green and blue? I look over to my board, bam, I know exactly which one is on. The visual feedback is kind of killed when you're right on top of the pedal. Okay, you might be able to see. Why not just a different color? Okay. In the back, we have input. We got 9 volt, and we have a remote. So you could remotely switch those 2, for example, with a switch from a looper switcher pedal, or maybe even just one switch in front of you on the stage, whatever. And then there's an output. So it's semi-programmable in that way that you could use a looper switcher for that. Now that you know what a compressor does and what this one does, we'll take it out of the box. Okay, couple of product shots and then sounds here in the room. So, we're gonna get some sounds into the Imperial first by Tone King. I like to go clean for most of the compression tasks. We're also then quickly going to pump it into one of the Marshalls. But we're going to start, let's say, threshold in the middle. Can't really see it because there's no lines. Dry off. We're on the left here, kind of centered. Let's see what happens. That's the pedal off. That's a Joey Landreth Duesenberg noise guitar. Into the aux, into a Greenback 412 with 2 mics. You immediately hear the sound is fatter, the sound is fatter and more sustained. And now it's gone because that's what the compressor added. If you just want more of what you're doing and you want it up there and more audible and longer, meaning more, then that's what you do. The level gives you even more. But be careful because now we're actually really pushing the amp. So I'll get more ratio, more comp. I take the threshold down, meaning there should be more compression sooner. We'll get the level up accordingly. What am I doing? This is how you do it. God damn it! So all the work and you don't really hear it, right? So with this, you hear the work I'm doing. So the kids nowadays do, you know, the polyphias and all that stuff. When you're doing all this clean stuff, hello, when you hear all the little details, there's a lot of compression involved, right? They can also play, but the compression helps, right? Not just volume, it also sounds weaker because all the more subtle stuff in the note is now buried deeper. That was horribly played. So let's do more subtle, but threshold further down. And we're gonna get the dry in now. Let's get it in 50-50. So now you hear all the subtleties of the guitar with the compression filling underneath. can go loads of compression, way more level, and switch. So the great thing is, well, no massive, that's any noise you're hearing is not the pedal, that's my system here, sorry. A little bit less compression now. Really be mean and crank up the threshold all the way, which means there shouldn't be any compression. Yeah, now it's just a boost because it's not compressing, but we're kicking the shit out of the level. Well, it's clearly not meant to do that. Yeah, we're really just boosting level now. So let's take the threshold all the way down to very low. Way too much compression now. It's really killing. Okay, but maybe not so much ratio. Doesn't matter how loud or soft I play, it's all really the same level. That's what happens. So this is that, and we're gonna go into the Marshall, modified by Marshall Plexi thing. So you can see, we can have two different kinds of boosts. For example, let's make this big. You can have a more sustainy one with more ratio. I wish the threshold was also adjustable for each side. You can have one that kicks in a bit more, but is a little bit more subtle compression. You can have one that's a lot more compression, but then less pushy on the level or the gain. Having the two is great. Not having full control over both, with the dry, okay, fine, maybe we don't need this twice. But the threshold really should be there twice. Also, not having little white line mini pots. They exist. I've been bitching about them for 15 years, which is why certain companies like Moore back in the day when we had the mini pedals, remember those, started using them because everyone bitched about them, not just me. So in 2026, not having little white lines on your mini pots is an oversight that I should bitch about. But come on, people. It's the good old Carl Martin compression. It just is there, subtle. and not in the way if you want that, but you can push your amp. It's just, every time I turn it on, it's kind of like an always on for clean. Playing cleans, unless you have an amp that compresses by itself really beautifully and a super high-end guitar that compresses by itself beautifully, and this is close to that, then you might not need a compressor, but other than that, you do. And here you're getting 2. You're getting 2. That rhymes. That's my verdict. We're gonna put links below, please use them. We're gonna put animals at the end, as always, please use them. But before that, like and subscribe, join the newsletter. That helps us to stay in touch with you about used sales, about giveaways, about loads of things that you should know about that YouTube doesn't tell you. So please subscribe to the newsletter. That'll help us tremendously, and you a little bit, but more me. And now, animals at the end. I'm wired.